everyone keeps telling you what Bitcoin should be, what freedom should be, whatever else. How about number one? Think for yourself. Stop listening to a group of guys in a decentralized protocol who keep telling you what a protocol is. How about we actually think that a fixed protocol might be good? Why? Because if you can't change the protocol, then there's no God in the protocol. There's no me. There's no anyone else. There's no core team. No one matters. It becomes the best companies developing the best products. I always thought that was what Bitcoin was meant to be. I didn't think it was about a group of core developers sitting there going, we're the best programmers in the world. I'm not. That's why I hire other people. My code is shit. I'll actually say that. I mean, I put case statements in my fucking code. Everyone hates case statements. My documentation is about as good as any first-year bloody programmer. It has some nice references, but that's about it. Yes, I did actually teach C and other coding, and like every academic coder out there, I have no idea about real-world coding, and that's why they don't let me near code in the office anymore. But that's the point. How many of you think that by trusting some guy who can change the protocol, that makes it better? How many times has the protocol changed in the last year? Anyone have an idea? So back in 2013, a company in Australia I had, which you're going to find out because of things, we actually had 45 staff in Australia in 2013. Coders, developers, researchers. That's how big I was in the background when no one knew what the hell I was doing back then. And do you know what? We kept developing things that would have been out now, and we kept changing them. Back then I called it iDemon. Everyone changes my names now because they don't like my marketing names and hate them, which is fine. I'm not a good marketer. I've learnt to be better with people. I've learnt to be different. That's the world. So if you're going to change a protocol, think about this for a minute. What does money need? It needs to be stable, right? So what happens if I sign a transaction now and I want something to be there in case I die, for my children, my family, a legacy? What happens if they change the protocol? We're about to see Bitcoin add some new little features and snore and all this stuff so that they can make it more crime-friendly. Because if we have no logs, then of course government can't stop us. Ignoring that Liberty Exchange had 30,000 nodes and was more decentralized than every cryptocurrency in the world combined. Any of you knew that? No? Aaron Budwowski went to jail because he, just him, and a few other people, they were centralized. People are centralized. This is the big thing. You can take down something like Binance because of a person. You can't take down a decentralized protocol. You can when you can change it. As soon as you add power to the protocol, it's not decentralized. When I said set in stone, it's because people want power. I don't. I wanted to be left alone. I actually had a quite nice life. I didn't get heckled. I was in the background. It's actually very good to have money and have no one know who the fuck you are. It's a remarkably good state to be in. Better than anyone can imagine. I can tell you right now, you don't want to be famous. What you want to be rich, just rich and unknown. It's a wonderful situation. Once people start to know you, it's completely fucked up. Only way to put it. Once you are known, things change. I mean, I was at bloody Heathrow Airport about a year ago now. I was walking out, and this guy in a SWAT uniform comes up to me, and go, "Excuse me, sir, are you Craig Wright?" I go, "What the fuck?" And he goes, "Oh, I saw you at Arnhem. Can I have a signature and a selfie?" After I just about shit myself, but all right. So let's think about the protocol again. We want to build. That simple. If you want to make something else, if you want to create a new coin and compete fairly, I don't care. Go for it. I have no problem with some of the other things out there that do that. I have a problem when you make an airdrop, and an airdrop that is fraudulent, where you copy and change a little bit and make people believe you have something new. See, here's the reason SPV could work. You don't change the protocol. The miners enforce rules. The users, so it's a combination. The hats and the guys with machines. And both have to do the same thing. If both do the same thing, then the miners split off and they have no one. If the users go fuck you, they have no one. It's called balance. That's the key of the system. You need all of it. If you start having a group of developers who go, "I'm the greatest developer in the world, I can add Schnorr." Why? What is the reason? When did this start happening? When were the changes? I can tell you, I was there. It's all because of bloody Silk Road. No privacy. Well, actually there is privacy. There is not anonymity. There's a big difference. People want to make this thing that they say will get around government. You don't do it by walking up to a government official and kicking him in the fucking nuts. I'm sorry. You do not make a system that will change the world by finding the big bad gorilla and kicking him in the fucking nuts. That simple. Really. How do you make something big? You grow it. Imagine if we were here today, not with 50,000 fucking altcoins, but with one Bitcoin that ran all these different protocols, that acted as a universal source of money, that also ran fiat, that allowed exchange, that allowed trade. And then think, if there's no single developer to target because the protocol isn't changing, try stopping that. When you put a person at the top, then you have a target. I didn't want that. I wanted not to be the target. Because while I'm here, people will go, "Oh fuck, we can target this guy." The hard bit is not to change. What we're going to do is very simple. We're going to scale Bitcoin. And we're going to have the protocol so that a transaction that was written in 2009 and signed will run in the year 2100 that hasn't been on the blockchain now, that can be sent then, and will still be accepted. Now, you can say that's backwards. I say Silicon Valley's bloody fucking backwards. They're freaking warped. They've got this whacked out idea because of a group of people who've never experienced the real world, thinking code is law, and thinking because they've got huge amounts of money quickly, they've never learnt what it's like to really be in a hard situation. And I've known many people from Silicon Valley, and they are like that. They're all freaking whacked out and up themselves. And very simply, if we want to build a system that'll grow, if we want something that is going to be stable, if we want people to actually take this seriously, then we can't keep changing. You can't flip protocol every second week. Anyone know when the last TCP/IP change was made in IPv4? Anyone? There was one on April 1st, about 15 years ago. They added the evil bit. And here's the really terrible thing. The evil bit is actually there for a very good reason. If you're running malware, it is there to signal that you're running malware so that people know to filter it. And none of the bad guys decided to implement this. They just refused to follow protocol. I guess that's why it came out on the 1st of April, but that's in the protocol now, and it's just not being followed. So what if we actually have something stable, and we have something that allows people to build? Not, you have to ask me. I mean, what the fuck does permissionless mean? Who wants to tell me what permissionless means? Go for it. Fairly much, yes. That's a very succinct way of saying it. Bit circular, but without permission. I don't need to ask anyone. So right now, if I want to build something on Core, I need to check with Core developers what the change is going to be in 6 months, 12 months, whatever. If I build something like Facebook, it is not going to build itself into an empire in a week. If I build myself a POS system, point of sale, it's not going to be developed in a month. It's not going to be sold. It's not going to get venture capital. It's not going to raise money. It's not going to be valid unless I have time. And if you change my protocol quicker than I can build anything, I can't bloody build anything. What the fuck do I care about this for? It just becomes flavor of the month crypto shitcoin, which is great for exchanges. I mean, think about it. If every single one of you had your own shitcoin, you could all go to an exchange before you buy anything, and the exchange can tell you, based on a Twitter poll, how much they think you're worth today, and maybe if they don't like you, they can downvote you, and then your personal shitcoin can go down or up in value depending on which exchange lord you want to beg down and grovel to. And if you grovel enough, and you beg enough, and you go, please, please, they might even let you buy a coffee. That's a wonderful future world on thousands of shitcoins. I can just imagine Jihan out there going, bow to me, worship, I will let you buy a coffee. And CZ will be out there going, we're going to bankrupt you because I don't like you. I had a Twitter poll. He's going to. He doesn't like me. Sorry, I don't give a fuck. I don't trade shitcoins. I don't really need any of this, and I can build in the background, so have a nice day. Everyone wants me to do what they think I have to do, their way. Guess what? Fuck them. I'm going to do things my way because I want to prove my point my way. And you know what happens when you have a bunch of social justice warriors sitting in somewhere like Twitter or Reddit? They have things like, oh, I've got an email from a person who sent an email to a person who sent an email that promised that PDF here was created fraudulently by Craig. That's evidence. I'm pretty sure it is because they've said it is. That's how things work in Twitter space. It's how things work where you can edit things and alter things. That's not how it's going to work in the future, because I want to see a system where we can actually timestamp things and prove things, not before. Here's the thing people don't get. You cannot prove something before an event. People want that. People like Greg and whatever else want that because that would actually help them with an argument about Silk Road, etc. If those keys can be moved and changed, then you can say that, no, it's not actually Ross, it's another person had the keys, so it proves he's not guilty. Doesn't work that way in law. The real world, we have rules of evidence. We have rules for companies. If you want to be free, there's a big thing that comes with it. Freedom is not free. Freedom requires virtue. It requires work. It requires effort. And do you know why I don't really give a shit? Because I like work. And no one can take it away from me. Because I don't actually need anyone to give me a job anymore, ever. I just love work. So I've got this ironic situation where people think they can fuck me over by fucking up my reputation. I hire people. And people come to me, including people from Oxford and Cambridge and whatever else. And we file patents. And yes, I like IP. So what? If you want, here's the thing. Outcompete me. Isn't that what we're talking about? File before me. Invent something better. Take my things, build more. Take what I've done, build it. Create something more. Not because you want to have a God. I used to be a pastor. I've got my fucking God. I don't want to be one. I don't particularly want you to make me one. In fact, I hate when people do that. It's an annoying fucking... One of the worst things that ever happened was this fucking Church of Satoshi. And some people even took it seriously, for frick's sake. So you're going to start finding out everything, but my way. Not because Wired told you this is how things have to happen. Not because Mr. Maxwell told you this is how things have to happen, but because I, who didn't want to talk about my past, will do it the way I want to, in court. The way people have real rules of evidence. Things that have been built up. You know, one of the biggest freedoms we've had, and I've said this many times before, not creating miscellaneous sort of shitcoin type companies, because if you look it up, there was a company called MyGo. I'll say company very loosely. MyGo in 1999, 1990, around that period. They were a decentralized bunch of web developers. This is nothing new. They did web script. They issued things over the internet, over Usenet. And the SEC took them down. Badly. The SEC said, you're not a company. And they said, yes, we're not a company. Ha ha, you can't get us. SEC said, fine, you're a common law partnership. Unlimited liability. They went after one, then the other, and then the other, until they took all their money and the lawyers got the rest. The end. No more MyGo. That simple. So you have this great freedom. It was fought for. People died for the right of a company. Not just a company where you are liable, but limited liability. People gave their lives. I'm not joking. Died, rioted, fought for the privilege of being able to set something up where you don't go to debtor's prison, or you don't get put in stocks, or you don't get hung, because some places on earth still do that, by the way. There are places above Sahara, and I won't go into particular details, where you can be imprisoned for debt. Now, that's not free. If you fuck up with a company, you go bankrupt, or your company goes bankrupt. If you're honest, your company goes bankrupt and you keep going. Guess what? That's good. If you fuck up on a token raising, you're a partnership. You go broke. Or you defrauded people, in which case it's even worse, and you go to jail. So I want to ask people, what do you want? Do you want a system where people tell you what to do? Do you want to build a protocol that is stable and not have to keep being told, where you can build software, applications, develop without having to worship the greatest developers in the world. And trust me, they're not. I've worked in places like the Australian Stock Exchange, and I worked with high-frequency traders, the ones who don't release all their code and whatever else, and they were good coders. Left me for freaking dead. What we have out there in Twitter sphere are people saying how great they are. And yet, terrible loser me is about to come out with 8,000 transactions a second. I know, it's because I'm a shit coder. Obviously, I didn't understand the fact that it's got to run on Raspberry Pis. But that's the point you have to think about. If you start playing with protocol, if you allow people to dictate your life, if you allow them to do that, you give away your freedom. You are permissionless only when you have no one dictating, no one who acts as the lord of the repository. It's fucking Bitcoin. The whole purpose is to have things not controlled. Part of why I fucking disappeared was to have things not controlled. And I have to come back to control things to get it fucking not controlled. That's the freaking irony of this shit. Fucking think, people. Honestly. I mean, really. I put SPV in the white paper and everyone goes, oh, we need really, really complex ZK snarks. No, you don't. Think about this. I want 2 people from the audience. Please. Someone in the front. There's one. There's one. Okay. So here's something. Imagine that this is my transaction. I've got it because I mined it, right? I hand that and the previous transaction. So I sign a transaction, my new one, and I've handed the one that came to me. Okay, so that's my previous one. Yep. Now you can save that and hand that one on and sign a new one with what you do with that one. That's really hard, isn't it? That's fucking SPV. I can now, without downloading the whole fucking blockchain, go, hash of this transaction that he handed me is in the UTXO set. Easy to check, right? Merkle header. Now, if I want to be really sneaky, I could actually give you the path in the Merkle tree. You can do that because Merkle trees are set, not like this fucking canonical ordering crap. I can give you the path, so you now know where to check.
So I can download the block and then check?
No, you don't even need to download the block. You download the part of the block in the Merkle tree and check the hashes.
Okay, that would work out.
So you don't even need to download that transaction because you can hash that transaction and check the hash, right?
Yeah, but how do I know that the person I get the block from has a valid block?
You don't get the block from me, you get a transaction.
Okay.
So if you read how SPV works, you just have the headers.
Yeah.
You've got the headers. You have the hash of this transaction.
Yeah.
So when I hand you that transaction,
Yeah.
you hash it, you check the hash. If they're different, what does that mean? Anyone? Invalid. Was that really, really hard?
No, but what I would do is I would connect my SPV wallet to my own node, so I know that at least it got the block.
So basically, what you're going to do is, I don't trust anything.
Yeah.
I don't trust. Maybe there's really a conspiracy.
I'm not a conspiracy.
And SHA doesn't work.
Then
Exactly. And a lot of people have a problem on the other bit too. It's simple. We're going to put this out so people can start building it. And I'm still amazed after 8 bloody years, no one figured out something so simple. They keep going for the complex things. Thank you.
So it's running late, but we'll take a few questions. Let's let our guests sit down. We'll take a few questions. I know it's running late, and Craig will hang out and ask some more questions. We ask the questions be focused on Bitcoin and technology, if you can. Please, yes.
So, are you guys sure that being regulation friendly is the part of original Satoshi vision, whatever it could be?
The question is, are we sure the path of regulation friendly is the vision of Satoshi?
Yes, I am sure that I was like that then. And what you will find is it's based on contract law. Everything in Bitcoin follows regulations. It follows monetary law. If you go back to a case, it's called the Case of Mixed Money, 1605. It's actually one of the first cases of token money. It's an early case. If you read it, it's quite interesting. It is after the Irish and the UK fought. There was a really smart Irishman who got the better of an English lord. They had a contract, and the contract said to be paid in money minted in England. And the English, to undercut the money in Ireland, had minted these sovereigns that instead of being silver, were tin. And basically, this sort of person paid back the lord using, instead of silver coins, he paid them back in the Irish coins. And what happened was they went to court, and the contract said money minted in England. But they minted these tin coins in England. So even though they were Irish coins, they were minted in England. So by the letter of the law, this Irish farmer fucked over a English lord completely and made a big amount of money. And because they didn't want to ruin the whole economy that they'd already fucked up, he got away with it. And that's basically how money has evolved, through law.
That was a nice answer, Craig. You know how I'd answer it is, even if you don't believe Satoshi wanted a regulation-friendly environment, do you believe Satoshi wanted a Bitcoin financial system that would last for centuries, not just decades, but centuries into the future? And if you believe that, then it has to be regulation-friendly. Otherwise, you would have ended up shut down like Silk Road, because that's what would happen. Okay, question here, yes.
Could you give us a timeline for the next 2 years? What do you expect of BSV?
The question for a streaming audience is, can you give us a timeline of the next 2 years, what you can expect for Bitcoin SV?
8,000 transactions a second, going up towards in the order of millions of transactions a second. New technologies that we've been developing in the background without anyone knowing. We don't allow our patents to be public until the last minute. We have a few years of hiding them. Little trick our lawyers taught us, which is actually quite good. And that enables us to basically skirt around the gorillas instead of kicking them in the nuts. Because there are big companies out there who are now throwing lots of money into this, and we needed that time. So,
Technical roadmap is published on the bitcoinsv.io site. Steve Shatters did a recent post about this. Protocol upgrade in July, lifting default block cap to 2 gigabytes, some other changes in there, a return to essentially the Genesis, what we're calling it, in February, which is the completing the restoration process of the Bitcoin protocol and eventually lifting the default block cap. The Terra Node project, which is developing a microservices enterprise level approach to it, we think will be in some form, prototyped by next year. Scaling test network is already live and open for business. If you're a developer and a business wanting to test your applications with high throughput, heavy load on the Bitcoin SV scaling test network, open, ready for business. Check it out at bitcoinscaling.io. All right. Yes, question there.
Is there any research or considerations with regards to an old topic, UTXO commitments, or how they would even benefit or work together with SPV?
Question for the live stream audience, is there any attention to an old topic, which is dealing with UTXO commitments?
The simple answer is yes, but not in the way that people have been thinking. It's actually a lot simpler than it needs to be. A lot of the problem in the industry at the moment is people run around trying to overcomplicate things. If anyone actually took the time to read the bloody white paper, it's not that difficult, okay? It wasn't the high-end cryptographic thing that everyone runs around. The difficulty in the Bitcoin white paper and the protocol is it's simple. And there are a lot of things that are simple. I told you about how SPV should work, and I'll be putting out papers on that later this year. The same with UTXO stuff. Some of the other things like actually scaling and getting block propagation are more complex, and other people do that way better than me, but most of this stuff is simple. So yes, we have, but it will be oh fuck and kicking yourself because of it type things when you see it.
Yeah, let's take a last question very in the back.
Yeah, hi. I have a question about Schnorr signatures, because from my perspective, there seems to be an improvement in throughput, which increases like...
How? Okay, so...
No, because if you add inputs, then it's taking up the state of the blockchain, and therefore you can scale it, right? Privacy seems to just be a side effect, because in a permissionless network, people mix anyway, right? So what do you have against Schnorr signatures?
So for the live stream audience, what does Craig have against Schnorr signatures?
Basically, what they're designed to do is like Monero and rings. It's designed to hide. Now, this throughput bit is not correct. It actually slows down throughput. To mix, what you're doing is taking multiple people's transactions, putting them through a mixer, then sending them to the blockchain. Now, that actually loses some of the information needed for legitimate businesses. Now, if you're doing a single transaction where you need to record information, then you don't want to actually find other people to mix your signatures with. That's an unnecessary, convoluted step. So rather than actually doing things that we can do now, and you don't even need Schnorr signatures to do that. You can do a modified Gentry process. You can do a number of different threshold techniques. It's doable right now in ECDSA. They don't want to say that because they have this whole changing the protocol bit. But the reality is, you take, say, 5 signatures from 5 different people, and you mash them together in a single transaction. The reality, though, is what you're now doing is creating a joint signature that you have to trust. It comes down to we're safe because we're Monero.
But it helps for a merchant. If you have multiple people buying products at the same address, then it helps, reduces the cost of that.
Actually, no, because that's not how stores work. You don't wait for someone to come in and do the next coffee in line, and then the next coffee. And that also messes up things like accounting. So as a store, you don't want to have to start accounting a group, and it breaks some laws. So if you're now doing that, you have to store the data separately to match it up. If you're doing financial transactions, for instance, if you're doing tokens, you have to put all the inputs together and store them on a separate blockchain. So what we need is a blockchain to protect our blockchain, which, what the fuck?
It's getting late, so we'll thank you for your time and attention, and great courtesy in welcoming us to Amsterdam. Thank you.